Welcome to Empowered by Iron, hosted by Dr. Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching and Mary Morton from M&M Coaching, remote coaching for the novice athlete. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Hey everyone, so welcome to Empowered by Iron this week. So for the past couple weeks, we've talked a lot about training and your first meet and all that good stuff. And this week, we wanted to dive in a little bit into nutrition and talk about something that we have seen is common in a lot of athletes, but is not necessarily talked about a whole lot because it could be weird or we may be bursting people's bubbles, but that's what today is about. So today we wanted to talk about what we're calling this, the darkness or the dark side of being lean. So a lot of people, they are always in this mindset of cut. And we've talked about this before on the podcast about how you don't always have to cut. In fact, you shouldn't always cut. But today we want to talk about some of the negative side effects of cutting and staying at a very lean physique. And so Kristen is going to walk us through some of the negative side effects, and if some of these things are happening to you, like maybe you should take a step back and talk to your doctor. If you're working with someone for nutrition, talk to them about it. So Kristen.
Yeah, so there's several side effects of having low body fat percentage that no one talks about, and I wish that they did. So it happens at it's a different threshold for every person, and that's just based upon your physiology, and so I can't tell you at what percentage it's going to happen. I know people and have clients that can maintain 13% body fat without really having any difficulty doing it and having no side effects from it, and then at other people it can happen around 17 or 18% body fat. So one of the things when you are trying to maintain a really lean physique, you have to give up a lot of things. You have to sleep a lot. It places that your body doesn't want to maintain a lean physique all of the time. It's not, especially in women, we need body fat for our reproductive functions. So if you are trying to stay really lean, you're probably going to be fatigued a lot, and you're going to need 10 or more hours of sleep a night.
And that's a lot for recovery too, right? Like,
yep.
Being your muscles and everything, your central nervous system being able to recover.
Right. It's your recovery needs are a lot greater if you're lean, because if you're really lean, you're probably at a caloric deficit, though not always. I mean, you might have done a reverse diet and be eating a lot of food, but you're still really lean, and it's just hard on your body. So you need a lot of sleep. And then another one of the drawbacks is just social activities are really hard. Anyone who's done a big cut knows this. You're trying to make weight for a meet, or you just want to lean out, and you get invited to a party or a girls' night or whatever, and you suddenly are like, okay, so if I have like one glass of wine, that's like 40 carbs, and now I can't eat the dinner I was planning on eating, and it just becomes really difficult. So you're either going to throw it all out the window and have fun at these social events and eat the food that's there, and drink the alcohol if you drink, or you're going to have to look at it from a different mindset of like, well, I am just here to have fun with my friends and forget about the food. And it's a decision you have to make, and it's something that in our society is so common for social functions to have food and drinks. I mean, that's just kind of something as a culture that we come together over. And so it really is going to challenge your mindset, and it's something that can be incredibly difficult, especially if that's a big part of your lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's not ever at a party where you can go and you're like, oh, sweet, steamed vegetables and chicken breast. Cool, I can handle this. It's always like your deepest, darkest dessert desires that are just sitting there staring at you.
Right.
Yeah, so it's never easy.
Right.
But then with the social thing, so a lot of people would choose just to not go.
Right. So you're either going to not go, or you're going to be the weirdo who brings your own food, or...
You gotta have a Tupperware.
Right, which I've done that.
Which is fine, yeah. Cutting for meat, like, but you made that decision. You said, right. No, I'm not going to give up all the work I put in. I'm going to cut for the meat.
Right, right. So, I think those are just a lot of things that people don't think about when they decide that they want to be lean. If you're not cutting for a weight class or something like that, you just want to be lean, these are things that you need to be aware are going to come up. And if it's worth it to you to do that, that's fine. I'm not here to judge. We don't, we don't care what you look like. We want you to be happy and healthy. But one of the really big drawbacks, and this is a really big health issue, is that for women, is something called the female athlete triad. So, what happens when you get really lean is that your body can stop producing estrogen, or just really decreases the amount of estrogen that it produces.
And this isn't just like you got lean for a show and then you stopped. This is like...
Right.
Maintained lean.
Maintaining leanness, right. And so when that happens, you can lose your period. So you're not getting your period anymore, which sounds awesome, but it's really not, because losing your period means that your ovaries are shutting down. And that if you are in your reproductive years, if you're planning on having kids, that can be a really scary thing. Even if you're not planning on having kids, that decrease in estrogen causes a loss of bone mass. So now suddenly you're way more susceptible to stress fractures and things like that.
And that's something that, will probably happen to women in general as they hit menopause if they're not super cognizant about it.
Absolutely.
And you'll lead into problems like osteoporosis. You don't want to be 30 and have osteoporosis.
Absolutely. Yep. And then also that decrease in estrogen production can cause an irregular heartbeat. It can cause muscle weakness, which, what the hell? We're strength athletes. Like, why do you want that?
It's opposite of everything we've ever wanted.
Right. And it can also cause fainting spells. So,
that's not good.
Right. These are all... This is like a really serious thing that we need to talk about. Is like, if you are cutting and you no longer have your period, don't necessarily like celebrate, because that's a really scary thing, and you need to alert your nutrition coach if you have one, or get a nutrition coach, or go talk to your doctor or gynecologist.
Do something, because that's not normal.
Right. And this, I want to make mention that this can happen, it's not necessarily just in cutting. So if you were to Google the female athlete triad, you're going to see that it's nutritional deficiencies, training, and like loss of period. So heavy training, loss of period, and then loss of bone mass. But the nutritional deficiencies, even if you're working with a nutrition coach and your nutrition is on point and you're eating really well and you have a really healthy diet, this can still happen if you're lean.
Because you're probably training really hard too, right?
Right.
And so that's where that comes from.
That's exactly right.
It's an under recovery type of thing.
It's under recovery. It means that you are not resting enough or doing enough recovery activities to supplement what you're breaking down in the gym.
So is it basically that when you're under recovered, either nutrition wise, sleep wise, stress reduction wise, that your body basically goes into overdrive and it's like, hey, I can't handle doing this reproductive thing. I'm trying to maintain all this other shit.
Yeah.
Is that basically it?
It's a
non-scientifically.
It's a hormonal imbalance brought about by stress on the body. And so we know that just our training causes stress in our body. It's good stress, but at some point it becomes bad stress. If on top of it you have a stressful job or you have a stressful home life, then that's going to be even,
it's going to just add to it.
Absolutely. So there are some good answers to this problem, though. There's a way to solve it. And that is doing regular massing cycles.
So eating more.
Eating more.
Probably still sleeping more, but definitely getting more food.
Yeah. So I've become a really big fan of, like, if you want to cut and get lean, great, let's do it. Let's get you lean. We can do that. At some point, then we're going to want to add in some muscle, and when we do that, we're going to add in some fat. It gives your body a little break. You have to be okay with that. Like, you're going to get a little bit fluffier, and that's no big deal, because then we'll cut that weight off. So you do a massing cycle, you get stronger, which we all want to do. You're going to get more muscular, and then we can cut off some of the fat that you gained, and you're going to look even leaner than you did when you started, even if you have a higher body fat percent, because your muscles are sticking out more.
You have more muscles.
Right. So you can correct hormonal imbalances that way. Really, I think going back and forth between massing and cutting with some maintenance in there is a really good way to get a physique that you are happy with while maintaining really good health.
Yes. Because overall, this is health and fitness. If you're not healthy, what's the point?
Right. And we should point out, like, I know that some of our listeners are really high-level athletes. We have some really high-level Olympic weightlifters and some really high-level power lifters. And they may be going through some of this, and they know, I'm sure they are aware of what's happening to their body. And it's okay if you are an elite athlete and this is the decision that you've made and you're going to put your body through this for your sport. That's okay. There's no judgment. But just if you are a little bit more of a recreational athlete, like, and this isn't your career, don't do this to yourself.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Don't hurt yourself. If you have gone for a year and not had a period, there's a good chance you've done some major damage that might not ever come back.
Because your ovaries are not like a light switch. You can't just like turn them on and turn them off again.
That would be awesome if you could, though.
That'd be great. Why we invented that? Like, hey, you know what? I think I just would like everything turned off right now. I'm busy with my life. We could turn it back on in 5 years.
Right.
Like, that'd be great. But that's not how it works. And so when you shut them down, restarting them, they may not work the same. You may have lots of problems. And that, I mean, kind of awkwardly leads into what I wanted to say. And so I know a lot of you guys follow us on Instagram, have Instagram accounts, and you follow some athletes that are super inspirational for you. You know, they are high-level athletes. That's all they do. But what I kind of wanted to talk about leading off of that is a lot of us, me included, aspire to be like our favorite athletes. Like, we imagine our life is just like a branch off of theirs. You know, I train every day, I eat well, I do all the things that they do, but why aren't I like them? And I think we need to realize that that truly is their full-time job. Their full-time job is to look a certain way, to train 3 or 4 times a day, and to post about their lifestyle. Like, that is their entire career. And that's great for them, and they've obviously built a great career, but we as, I like to say, normal people, not elite athletes, need to recognize that, you know, there are other things to life than this lifestyle, and that, you know, there are sacrifices that they do make that I don't know that I would be willing to make. Like, I really like Oreos. Like, I really love lots and lots of peanut butter. And I do know that if I needed to, when I'm coming up on a meat, I need to tighten it up. But that's about it.
Right. Well, and a lot of times, so a lot of our favorite athletes on Instagram are sponsored by companies that we know and love. Mm-hmm. And they are paid to rep that brand and make them look good, right? So that you want to look like that person, or you want to, I need to buy that protein because look at that person, that they look amazing, and or they're hitting PRs left and right. I need to buy this and I need to buy that and I need to, and that, I mean, it's kind of cool that that's happened because it's allowed strength sports to grow, but then for the more recreational lifter, it kind of makes us chase after something that might not be attainable without a huge amount of sacrifice. And if your goal is truly to get to that point, and you want to do that, and you can do that, and you can give up your job, and you're at a point to do that in your life, go for it. That's great. But a lot of us aren't. Like, I'm not giving up. I went to school for 10 years. I'm not giving that up to be an athlete. I love what I do. I also like training, but I know that I would not be happy if I had to train the way an elite or professional athlete had to train.
Yeah. And I guess this just goes back to a lot of the themes that I'm sure many of you guys have heard. It's that Instagram and Facebook and all these other platforms are really just a highlight of people's life, and you need to remember that there are lots of low points. There are lots of missing events. There are lots of sacrifices that people need to make, and some of them aren't that healthy. And you need to realize that A, if you're not having your period, like, you really, really should get that checked out. And B, that these people are in a different mindset than what you are. Unless you're trying to achieve that, and that's great. Then get in that mindset and go get that shit done. But if you're not, take a step back and realize that your health is more important than you looking a certain way or getting a certain total or a certain time on any of the open games workouts.
Right. Yeah, so it's all about balance, and you have to...
Balance.
Right. And it's when we have all of these things, we're trying to balance our job and our family life and our gym time and our nutrition.
And our hobbies or anything else that we like to do.
Right. It's all about balance. And sometimes things can get out of balance, like when you're training for a meet and you do that on purpose. But just know that it's really difficult to be at that level of the athletes that we see on Instagram and have this work-home life balance. Like, that's all they do is train and nutrition, and then, I mean, yeah, they spend time with their families, but this is their job.
It's their whole job. When you're working 9 to 5 at your job, they are working 9 to 5 at training.
Or sleeping, or recovering, or eating.
There's a lot of sleeping. Like, they probably take 3 or 4 naps during the day because they need it.
Right.
Anyway, remember, lean is great, but there are dark sides to being lean. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Or we'll talk to you next week. We won't see you. Bye.
If you like what you heard today, please help us connect with other female badasses. We would love if you would leave us a review on iTunes. Tell your friends about us. Visit our website, which is empoweredbyiron.com. You can find each of us on Instagram. Mary is at MaryMo_92, and Kristen is at Kristen with an I, Lander. Future topics will include nutrition, programming and training, mental health, and just general female badassery.
Yeah, so let us know what you want to hear. If you have any input, that'd be awesome. And guys, this is Empowered by Iron. We want it to be a resource and an outlet for women who are finding their confidence, their independence, and their strength through iron. So thank you for listening. Thank you for checking in. And until next time, I'm Mary.
I'm Kristen.
And this is Empowered by Iron.